Hello YouTube and welcome to another video. It is currently July 1st, which is Canada Day. I hope you are having a great day no matter what piece of dirt you live on. It's currently 38 degrees, 38 degrees Celsius, which is about 100 Fahrenheit, and it's been that way all this week within a few degrees of that temperature. And for those of you living in warmer climates, that probably doesn't seem like a big deal, but we don't have air conditioning and we are not used to these temperatures, so it's been really hard to do anything all week. I did do a little bit of sanding on the X2 hull, which you guys will see. I've also been working on the bed plate mold, and I'll walk you guys through the progress that I've made on both of those things. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to do a vacuum test, or vacuum bag test on the new mold. So stay tuned for that. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Enjoy the video. I've been watching a few YouTube videos, and while I've been doing that, I decided to test out vacuum bagging in a Joel sort of way. So I didn't actually lay down any fiberglass cloth in here. Basically, this was just to see, this is kind of how my mind works. I'm so unsure that I can actually make a successful vacuum bag that I actually put some bleeder cloth in here and basically just a rag to act as a bleeder. Just because I had a couple sitting around. And so, yeah, they are allowing it to pull air around the whole part. So I have bleeder cloth around the whole mold. This is the mold for the vent that I made. Anyway, I've got that plumbed into my vacuum chamber, and it's sitting at, I guess, about 25 and a half inches of mercury. So I pumped it down to that, and I'm leaving this valve open. I haven't tested this line to see if it's sealed, but I'm hoping that it is, because what I'm going to do is actually leave this overnight and see if it holds a vacuum on this bag. It went quite well. I'm very surprised that it actually pulled into the part without a whole lot of bridging. If I had some cloth in there, it would actually help, because that would add some bulk to it and the corners wouldn't be nearly as sharp. So if this holds a vacuum and it stays into the corners, that's going to give me some confidence to move forward. Probably the last clip that you guys saw had something to do with the piece that I'm vacuum bagging over here as a test. It's been probably an hour or more, and it's still holding quite a bit of vacuum. I'm currently editing some video, waiting for the files to import. You guys would have already seen that video probably if you're watching this one. I haven't peeled this plastic off of here yet, so that's what I'm going to do now. It has set up quite firm, so I'm going to be able to do some sanding today. I think I'll do the sanding before I do any layup. I'll probably save the layup for tomorrow. I still have to do the, I guess this would be the left-hand side of the boat. Let's stop talking and pull this plastic off, or try to pull it off, and see how much difficulty it comes up with. Quite a bit more than I'm used to. It might be because I put some heat to it. It might be because of the different epoxy. It seems to have actually bonded a little bit to the plastic. That's interesting. Normally this stuff just pops right off. Wow, yeah, it might be because I heated it. Either way, it didn't come off with too much effort, but you can kind of see that it grabbed in there. It looks like it stayed down in this area, which is what I was trying to do with the plastic. This, like I already said, very solid. I'll do some sanding and taper that in. Probably going to do most of this with the orbital sander, and then I'll finish it off by hand with the, I think it's 17 or 18 inch, yeah, that thing right there. After adding the thickened clear stuff, I was working on the bed plate mold and I added some of this to the outside kind of as a guide coat and kind of because it needs to be it needs to be coated black anyway, so I figured I would use some stuff that I had left over. Probably not going to add any more material in along this area here. I think I've got enough material in there that I can just sand it back now and it will be good. I'm assuming that I'm going to have to add a little bit more to here to kind of shape it, but it's getting pretty close through here. I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. Ain't nobody got time to stand around watching me sand the X2, so the next thing you guys are going to see is me building the new bed plate mold, or little snippets of it anyway. Polyester resin is no joke. I might even have to change out my filters on here just to make sure I don't poison myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't want to make this too thick. This is probably enough, or maybe even too much. I want to make sure that it flows down into the grooves. I am very nervous that this isn't going to set up, because if it doesn't, that means all the work that I spent all day yesterday doing was for nothing. We'll have to do it all over again. I have moved the operation outside because, yeah, it's just too stinky. Even with the mask on, I can still smell stuff coming through, so it's probably gonna need 2 more coats of what I just did. So I used 2 cups of the resin, or 4 ounces, I guess. So that's probably gonna need at least 8 more ounces. You can see I didn't quite get full coverage. All right, I had a near catastrophe. I think it's been avoided, but I sat this out in the sun and I used hot glue to hold these flanges on, and it was getting hot enough out in the sun that my hot glue was melting. Also, I used the orange stuff as plasticine, and it was getting pretty soft as well. So I've taken it in. I'm actually going to let it sit for a few minutes before I apply another coat of the gel coaty stuff, because it's currently, yeah, quite hot. So, all right, I've now done 2 applications of the polyester resin. It is tacky to the touch, but it is pretty much set up. Here's some that I just got out of a cup. You can see it is hardening. Oh, I hear Megan getting home with my Dairy Queen Blizzard. Okay, so this is the last batch. This stuff was not thickened. This stuff had some thickener in it. But yeah, this stuff has definitely hardened. So that is very comforting. This stuff stinks so bad. Alright YouTube, I have added about 3 layers of cloth. The first layer stuck down to the polyester resin. And then I used some Super 71 tack adhesive to stick down the other layers. I think there might actually be 4 layers of cloth there. So I'm going to apply the polyester resin to this stuff, wet it out, let it tack up, and add another 3 or 4 layers. So this just happened. I was trying to get the polyester resin ready so that I would have some ready to stir up. I was setting them over here because I have so much junk set in the way, and I hit something as I was coming across, and I spilt it. That's going to be fun to clean up. About 200 grams of epoxy to completely wet this out. As I was saying earlier, it's 3 or 4 layers of fiberglass thick, so I am going to be adding more of the cloth to it, this stuff here. But before I do that, I'm going to add some chop strand, probably along each side. It's going to be very basic, but I'm going to add some chop strand that just goes down each side, across, and then basically like a H. Just to kind of add some bulk to it and solidify everything together. I got this polyester resin for free. In the future, I will be using epoxy for a couple of reasons, but the main reason just being that this stuff stinks so much. I might still add a couple of layers to the top of this, but it is currently, what, 22 after 1 in the morning, and I've got work to do tomorrow. So I'm going to let this stuff sit up. The layers that I'm putting on over the top now are basically, they're kind of to add some strength or rigidity, but more or less I'm adding it so that there won't be any sharp edges or anything. So I'm going to continue probably to add a few more layers of cloth. So right now I've got 3 or 4 layers of cloth, a layer of chop strand mat in some strategic areas, and then 2 more layers of cloth. So this 6-ounce cloth. I have applied the final layers of fiberglass. I've also added a layer of gel coat to the outside. I let this sit out in the sun for about an hour, and it got up to about 70 degrees Celsius, which is this much Fahrenheit. And so now I'm painting on some PVA, which is mold release. Some of you may be aware, but some of you may not be, that polyester resin, unless it has wax in it, actually won't fully cure. If it's exposed to oxygen or the atmosphere, I don't know if it's specifically oxygen, but it won't actually fully cure. The surface will remain tacky basically forever. So what you need to do is either put a wax additive into the last coat of resin, or you can paint over it with something at the end, and that will seal it up, and then it will fully harden on the surface. What I'm doing is using the PVA to seal it up. Laminating resins is what I'm talking about. They don't have any wax additive in them, and the surface will remain sticky so that you can apply new material over the top of it without having to sand. Non-laminating resin, they put wax into it. I believe it's paraffin. And what happens when you apply the resin, the paraffin floats to the top and it seals it off, and so then it fully hardens on the top and it's not sticky anymore. So I had laminating resin, and so I need to do this. I'm going to put it back out in the sun and let it sit for about an hour, and then it should be fully cured. Then we can take it out of the mold. It is 36 degrees Celsius, 96 Fahrenheit, and the part has been sitting out in the sun. So let's go see what the temperature is. 74.1. Alright, we got a high temperature of 166.5. This actually comes in really handy. I have a pressure regulator on a line, and that way a lot of the tools, like with my die grinder, I can plug it into this hose after the regulator, and then it's not just screaming. I'm currently running this at about 55 psi, and it makes it way easier to control.
Just let me fall to my groove. Look you in the just let me fall to my groove.
I think we can do this one on the barbecue.
What is it?
Crunchy Vietnamese chicken salad.
It's the... I'm just being stubborn because I should. You watch, as soon as I do this, it'll work. It'll pop off. I mean, not immediately, but... There we go. It's Wednesday, June 30th, and it is way too hot to be doing anything. Let's see, what is the forecast for today? What is the temperature today? 37 degrees Celsius, which is 98 Fahrenheit. I'm getting ready to do some fiberglass work on the X2. I'm going to do this side. I think it was Saturday when I did that side, and I've been playing around with some other stuff, but mostly it's just been way too hot to do anything, so I ended up sanding off a lot more material through this area than I thought I was going to, and it is mostly cosmetic, so using a lot of fiberglass on it and sanding it is just causing me a lot of extra work. So what I plan on doing, when I look at this side from the other side, I can get a better idea of the profile, and I think it's going to look really cool. It kind of, I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but it kind of follows a nice natural looking contour there. I still have to put some fairing compound on it and get it sorted out, but yeah. I'm going to hopefully get this done today. Unless something goes wrong, I'm going to get that done right now. And then over the weekend, it's Wednesday now, so over the next couple of days, I'm going to try to get some of the fairing done on this. Yeah, 12:41 a.m. And yeah, I was going to lay some more fiberglass down on the hull of the X2. Way too hot to do that. And then I started to clean up, and as you guys can see, I definitely did not clean up. Well, I guess I could have ended the video there and just left you guys hanging, but I figured I would do a little bit of a test with this bed plate mold. I'm not actually molding anything in it. I'm just pulling a vacuum on it, so don't get too excited. But basically, I did a Joel test on it. So I used sealant tacky tape stuff, so used putty, and I used plastic house wrap stuff, and then I basically pulled a vacuum on it to see if it will basically to see how hard it was going to be to get it to pull the plastic down into all the nooks and crannies. I'm really glad I did this test, as I will show you guys in a few seconds here. It revealed a couple of things that I need to be careful of. I did this kind of purposely shady. I didn't take a lot of time and put a lot of care into it because I wanted to see what would happen, kind of worst case scenario. So what I did, as I said, I had a ball of putty tape from just stuff I got from the hardware store. It's just butyl tape. And so it's a little bit thinner than the actual stuff for vacuum bagging that they use. I think so anyway. So I used that, and it was used. I had it balled up into a ball, and I rolled it into a string, put it around here, and then put the bag on. The other thing that I did was I didn't make any pleats in the bag, so I didn't give any room for the bag to actually pull into place. As you can see here, the plastic is being pulled down around this edge quite tight. It's actually working, and it's doing the same thing over here, and then it's pulling it through the middle. The problem is that because it's pulling this down here, whatever force it's putting on here, it's also putting on this edge and this edge. So it's trying to pull the bag in in all directions. And that is showing up quite clear down in this section where the bag is pulling quite tight through here. You can see it's actually caused folds that weren't there before. I know you guys don't know that they weren't there, but you'll just have to trust me. It's actually pulling the putty in through creases that it's made, and it's created a bunch of new creases. So that could cause a leak. I'm going to leave it under vacuum. It's actually pulling 27 inches of mercury right now, which is unusual for here, but it's been very, very hot, and the heat causes the humidity to go up, which causes the barometric pressure to go up. And so, yeah, I'm able to pull a little bit more vacuum because there's more vacuum available, or more pressure available. Anyway, I'm going to leave this sit, and you guys won't get to see if it worked or not, or if it held vacuum or not, until the next video. Hopefully in the next video I will be making a test out of fiberglass on this piece. So I do have 2 or 3 different vacuum bagging materials. I'll probably just use a basic one because this doesn't require a lot of stretch. I do have a high stretch one, but I think it is more susceptible to punctures, which I will tell you guys now about. The indicators or locators for the holes that will be drilled in the bed plate. I made the bed plate mold so that it has little pinpoints on it that will show me where to drill the holes for the mold once it's made, and those will poke through the bag if there's not material in there. There's going to be 6 millimeters of cloth laid up on top of these pins, so it probably won't poke through. But what I'll probably do is sand them off a little bit so they're not as sharp. And then when I pull the vacuum down on the bag, I'll stick these over as a preventative measure so that if they do poke through, it won't cause a leak. So there's 8 of them here, and one of them, this one here, actually did poke through. So then I put the tape on all of them. Anyway, I'm going to leave that, but you guys won't see the results until the next video. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. As you guys can see, it is the next day. For those of you who stuck around to the end of the video, you get to see that the vacuum bag test was a success. The gauge on my pot is showing 27 inches of mercury, right where it was last night. So this was a success despite me using the worst materials known to man. So what that means is I'm going to be able to go ahead with this and do a test with fiberglass layup. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to have enough material because the fiberglass that I was going to use to make this part, I ended up using to make the mold. So I still have plenty of the thicker stuff, but not sure what I have left for cloth. Anyway, that'll be in the next video.